Shabbat Shalom. My name is Cantor Jake Harris, and I'm streaming to you live from Delray Beach, Florida, Temple Sinai of Palm Beach County. And let me be representing everybody here at the temple to say Shabbat Shalom if you're joining us for the first time. And if you're a member or just a frequent guest here at Temple Sinai, we're so glad to have you here back again for yet another exhilarating, spiritually invigorating Shabbat service. So before we get started with some prayers and some music, I just want to talk a couple announcements, think about the people that have made tonight's service possible. So tonight's Erev Shabbat service is sponsored by Harvey Fields in memory of his son, Mitchell Fields, Elaine and Martin Lubelski in memory of Lily Lubelski, and the Solkoff family in memory of Lillian Hurwitz and Dorothy Solkoff. Our Saturday, April 24th Shabbat Torah study is sponsored by Gloria Levin in memory of Albert Fox, Warren Weiss in memory of Rose Best, Rhoda and Sheldon Rokaw in memory of Thelma Greenwald, and Danielle and Tom Gabor in memory of Laszlo Gabor. And the following donations to the community food pantries are sponsored by Judy and David Stern in memory of Judy's beloved mother, Millie Wechter, and Carol Ripner in memory of her beloved husband, Louis Ripner. So thank you to all those who contributed for Shabbat service, for Torah study, and for the ongoing donations to the community food pantry, addressing those who are food insecure in our area and beyond. So with that in mind, if you're following along in Mishkan Tefillah, we're going to open it up. We're going to turn right now to the candle blessing. And in the house right now, we have Cantor Rachel Slusky. So I'm going to invite her to this corner that I have set our materials for Shabbat in our house and see if we can see the lights of Shabbat. So if you have Shabbat candles with you at home, go ahead and light those along with us. This is an opportunity for us to bring in the lights of Shabbat together. So we are going to be in Mishkan Tefillah on page 120, and we're going to call upon our techies to rearrange this so that we'll be able to see the candles in Cantor Rachel. Now, if this seems tight and cumbersome, and it puts you on edge, then go ahead and get in touch with us here at Temple Sinai and sign up next week to light Shabbat candles. We'd love to have you light Shabbat candles on Zoom. They say once you need 3 matches to light the Shabbat candles, that means they're going to be extra holy for the evening. And together we bless. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Amen. So these Shabbat candles are going to be burning for the remainder of the evening. However, for safety purposes, we're going to go ahead and move them off to the side. So they will be robust, they will be inflamed, and we will be together here on Shabbat. I don't know if inflamed is really a good term to be used for that, because the light that's emanating from the Shabbat candles, it's a light that comforts us and a light that brings us inspiration or helps us for the next week coming. So to be inflamed, I hope that we are actually infatuated with the light of Shabbat. And with that, I just miss one thing. Well, I miss a lot of things. Sometimes I miss a good joke. Sometimes I miss the mark. But what I really miss from my life and for our spiritual lives here at Temple Sinai is being together with people. So for that, we're going to go ahead and sing. Before we actually sing our song of togetherness, I'd like to invite you, if you have a kiddush cup close by, we're going to be sanctifying the drink as we had with the lights. So if you're in Mishkan Tefillah, we'll turn to page 122 for the kiddush. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי, ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצבנו, ושבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחיל לנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים. Wow. All right. Now, a lot of ritual items taken care of, and we thank our sponsors. We thank everybody in the Temple Sinai community who continues to show their support in different ways to help keep this going, because, well, to have another week of Shabbat is a blessing. So let's sing together, page 128, just about being together, a little Hine Ma Tov. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. Now we let in the angels of Shabbat. We invite them. We hope that they will be with us. And the angel of Shabbat could be the person that calls that you haven't heard from in a long time. It doesn't have to be a celestial body or a holy being. It could be the miracle that happens to you. And, oh, it just so happened to be Saturday morning when it happened. So we're now turning to page 140 so that we can sing together. 142 for Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Hi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem, Boechem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני, ברכוני לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. מי מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש, הקדוש ברוך הוא. When I think of Shabbat prayers, I just only think about one, and sometimes Cantor Rachel and I in our spare time are going back and forth. I try and sing one verse of one Lechato D melody, and she'll sing the other melody back at me in another verse. And whoever is still singing the melody at the end of it wins. But tonight, we're going to be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. So if you're with us in the chat, if you're following along here, we just want to give a special shout out tonight to Rabbi Aviva Bass, who's not here with us because she is enjoying some much-deserved time off. So Rabbi Aviva will be returning next week, and we are hoping that she is having a restful Shabbat. The thing about being a clergy person is resting on Shabbat, it's not necessarily a one-to-one type of ratio. We help others rest, and then if we're lucky, we'll get some time off to rest for ourselves. So as Rabbi Aviva is resting, we're thinking about her. We're thinking about the Solkoff family, who also has helped our service tonight. 138, Lechato D, 1, 2, 5, and 9. That's how we do it at Temple Sinai. And I hope wherever you're at, you'll sing along. Lechato D likrat kala yadadai 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 bnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechato D likrat kala yadadai 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 bnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmianu el hamiyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet ve'letehila. Lechato di likrat kala yadadai 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 bnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechato di likrat kala yadadai 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 bnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha merosh mekerem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tehila. Lechato di likrat kala yadadai 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 bnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yaredai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5, Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orei kumi uri, 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 shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala yaredai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yaredai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha ub'tzola, toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala yaredai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yaredai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. If you have risen, then you may be seated. If you are inclined to us and paying direct attention, dayenu. That's all we're really asking for. Not to us to pay attention, but for all of us to pay attention to our prayer, to focus in. And with that in mind, we're turning right to the Baruch Hu. If it's your custom to do so, you may rise, and if not, stay put, and you will be just as sealed in the book of life. I know it's not that time of the year, but all times of the year we should be thinking about what's coming up on those high holy days. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMivorach. Baruch Adonai HaMivorach, HaMivorach le'olam va'ed. HaMivorach le'olam va'ed. Page 150 for Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Hukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shochbeinu, v'kumenu nasiach b'chukecha, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please join me in chanting the Ve'ahavta on page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim haele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לעולכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. And now we come to a moment celebrating freedom, celebrating the bounty that God has given to us. But most importantly for me, when I'm thinking about this prayer right here, when I'm thinking about singing Mi Chamocha, thinking about the moment where Miriam scolded the people after they cheered that the Egyptian chariots had been covered with the water and God had drowned the Egyptians. And Miriam said, there are people that have died here. What are you celebrating? So this is very current because we just got a verdict. We didn't get the verdict, but we witnessed a verdict being handed down to somebody. Whether or not you agree or disagree with this verdict, think about this. Think about once the sea closed in on the Egyptians, essentially killing all of them with water, drowning all of them, they still had the first instinct to celebrate. And Miriam scolds them, saying, there are people that have died here. There's still not a cause for celebration. Let's sing a little ya-da-die. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha neda b'kodesh. Torah tehilot, osef eleh, Torah tehilot, osef eleh, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Malchutecha ra'u banecha, okei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. V'nemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov. וגלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל. אמן. If you're following along with the service, we're now turning to page 160. And if you're able to write in the chat and on YouTube, if that's something that you're comfortable with, I would love for you all, anybody that's willing, to share a moment that you felt God's presence shelter you from something and you felt blessed in that moment. We were having a rehearsal for a bar mitzvah that's actually happening tomorrow. And the parashah is from back when we started and when we had our first date before all this pandemic stuff happened. And it was Parashat Noach. And as soon as he's Matthew Goldboy, so a mazel tov to the Goldboys family, Matthew becoming a bar mitzvah tomorrow. And what an exceptional student Matthew is. And as soon as he starts his rehearsal, we hear the rain pounding down on the sanctuary. A very limited amount of people in the sanctuary still for this one event. And we heard the rain. So that was my moment for the Hashkivenu moment. So if you're with us, if you're able to write in the chat, please share with us a Hashkivenu moment. A moment where you felt God's presence. We know there are a lot of moments where we wish God would have come to help us and, well, maybe we didn't get that help that we were looking for. But this prayer is about when it did happen. So let's think about times where it did. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. Page 164, as we prepare for the Amidah. In a moment, we're going to be talking about this week's Torah portion. I'll be talking with myself about it because I can't hear anybody on the other side, but we will be discussing it here tonight. And it talks about responsibility. It talks about what happens when the community has done wrong. It talks about where we put blame. And we'll get to all of that. And until we do, take a moment during this Amidah, during this introspection, to think about something you've accomplished this week that you're proud of, that you're happy about. Maybe it's something you've been working towards for weeks. Maybe it's something you've been working towards for your whole life and it finally worked out this week. Maybe you weren't sure if it was going to work out, and it did in an amazing way. And maybe it didn't. Who knows if it's going to be next week that it does? With those odds, I wouldn't bet heavy money either way, but I would definitely continue to have faith and put forth effort that good things will come. Page 164, looking inside ourselves for the Amidah. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, u'mevii geula livnei bneihem, leman shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah rav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha baal gevurot, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. We now turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing at this time. So if you're thinking about anybody, whether it's a friend or a family member, a colleague, somebody that's in need of healing, I invite you to say their name now. And we're going to bring up a list of people who are in need of healing as we sing Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach. So if you have any names, please go ahead and say them, and we'll sing together.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Isheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So before I got into cantorial music, some may know, not everybody, but some may know that I was a composer. And for composition, the most important thing that they stressed to us was you need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You need to make sure that your compositions have form. It's almost like music is simple. You go outside into your car, you get in, you drive somewhere, and once you eventually get to the destination, you get out, you see what's around, then you get back in your car and you drive back. So it has to do with returning home, with having a sense of home. And that's where we get these ideas of these notes, right? We have la 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 la. What note am I going to sing next? Somebody may say la. Other people may say la. Ooh, deceptive, very deceptive. And so if I'm to expand on that into these different ideas, we have what's called a cadence, where things come to rest. And so when we have a cadence, it can go a bunch of different directions, right? This chord wants to go here, or it could go. Could be major, happy, yes, or minor, the key of the Jews, D minor. We love it. Almost every song we have is in D minor. Or you could go here. That's what we called a deceptive cadence, because we think something's going to settle and it doesn't. And that can be applied to different parts of life. Create an expectation and then deviate from it. In this week's Torah portion, we have a concept that I have always found to be so provocative and interesting, and I always wondered where it came from. And in this week's Torah portion, we find out that it actually comes from the Jews, which is pretty ironic. that we, the Jews, created the scapegoat. And as Jews, throughout history, more or less, we've been the scapegoat. And I wondered, I said, yeah, the scapegoat, that's one of those complex, compounded words. We have scape. Scape is a premature form of garlic. Yes, very bitter. The goat will eat anything. The goat probably is going to eat the garlic, these garlic scapes. What is this? And my dad just looks at me and says, oh my goodness, young man, you don't even understand this. And the scapegoat is actually a goat. So it was said that it's written that Aaron, on behalf of the whole community, would put his hands on the goat, representing all the sins and iniquities that the community had committed. And then they would have that goat and they'd send it off into the wilderness. Chances are, it's a little goat, it's going to get eaten by something fierce. So the destruction of that goat, the sweeping under the rug of the goat, so to speak, or the out of sight, out of mind aspect of the goat was their scapegoat. They put everything on it and they send it out. For us, as Jews, we know what it's like to be the scapegoat. We've been the scapegoat in almost every generation in some place in the world, whether we're living in another country that doesn't adhere to our customs, or we're not allowed to worship in the way that we want to, or just looking a little bit different. We're called out, as I was in school. Big nose, curly hair, you look different, you must act different, you must be different. Therefore, we're afraid of you. So if we think about other scapegoats, and not just Jewish scapegoats throughout the world, just right here in America, where I've spent pretty much my entire life. I've never lived anywhere else. Plenty of people in our congregation have, but we're thinking just about America right now. There are different scapegoats. Jews are scapegoats in America. It's the Jews and George Soros. It's the globalists. They're going to take over. They want to control us. They want to be the people that rule us. We've heard it so many times. But others, we might not hear coming to us if that's not what we look like. Black people are scapegoats in America. Mexicans, big scapegoats in America. Asian people, as of recently, especially with the advent of coronavirus, scapegoats in America. Jews, as we know, and women. It's very unlikely that the white male, which I manifest as, even though I'm a Jew, is going to be the scapegoat. For Mexican people, they're going to come and they're going to take our jobs. They're right there on the border. They're going to jump over. They're going to take all our jobs. Chances are the jobs that the Mexicans are coming to work diligently and to put in heavy hours are jobs that many Americans have not taken for years, and that's why they lay dormant for others to come in. Black people, they're poor, they're lazy, whatever people say about them, like they would say that to the Jews. It's their fault that they're poor. It's their fault that they live in the projects. It's their fault that they get murdered by police because they should just be doing the right thing. Asian people. Well, I didn't get into Harvard University because all of those Asian people were applying. You know, they perfect SAT scores and they're so good at piano. Even in music school. Oh, the Asians, yeah, they can come through, they can read anything. All of these things. Why do we need a scapegoat? Why did they need a scapegoat in times of ancient Israel to get rid of all of the wrong things that they had done? What is it going to do to put it on something and then send it out of sight? It worked for them, and it continued to work for them, and it works for a lot of people. It's easier to blame others than it is to take responsibility for things that we might not be so happy about that we've done. And even thinking about just myself or ourselves, looking within, it's so important to be sure that if we're going to be unhappy with something that we're doing, we take responsibility. Or if we see somebody else doing something that we're not happy about, if we don't say something, then that's our opportunity that we have to stand up. So it comes in the form of the internet. This is something that I've thought about a lot, and this is something I've considered. And people who are on Facebook with us at Temple Sinai can see this a lot. It's the idea, you see 50 people tagged in it, and it says, drink this, eat this, and watch, the fat just melts. And you see these diagrams, these animations or something, and you watch the fat melt away. And plenty of people click on that. Plenty of educated people, plenty of people that know this is not going to benefit me, but they still do it because they become desperate. People become desperate, so they want to find something to get rid of the thing that makes them feel bad about themselves. So if it's an easy way out, they'll take it. And the oldest easy way out is to blame somebody else, the scapegoat. Ironically, in Achrei Kedoshim, with this week's Torah portion, the scapegoat was created by the Jews. Ironic, because we were the ones that were going to be the scapegoat in generations to come. Now, scapegoating, generation after generation, leads to fear. And that fear, if left unchecked, turns into hatred. And that hatred, if left unchecked, turns into the Tree of Life shooting. It turns into the shooting that happened at the salon targeting Asian people. It happens in the projects when police see black people doing nothing wrong and shoot them dead. And it happens at a disproportionately higher rate for black people than it does for white people. And that's a fact. On Shabbat, we're looking to find peace. Many times we can find peace in our own lives and we see turmoil going on outside. We wonder, was it this group that was worse at this time period, or was it this group that was worse? The ones who were out in the street, they're rioters or they're protesters, left, right, where does it go? Well, if we want to skip all that, if we want to skip all of the bickering, all of the comment streams on Facebook that will continue, thousands and thousands of comments that nobody will ever read because it's nonsense, accountability, accept responsibility. This week, we saw the conclusion of a trial. I personally watched somebody be murdered. Doesn't matter what anybody else feels, and that's your own experience. We're talking about our own experiences. We watched George Floyd be murdered by a policeman, and that policeman was convicted of murder. A lot of people saying this is justice. Justice has finally been served. Justice has not been served because George Floyd is dead. Accountability. This is the beginning of accountability. And I hope that in America, regardless if you were pleased with this verdict or you were not, you'll at least get into a conversation. You won't block out the other side as long as they're willing to communicate in a rational and calm way. We should be able to have dialogues about different feelings and different thoughts, different viewpoints. And if somebody is not willing to accept facts, if somebody's not willing to listen to facts, if they're not bringing to the conversation factual evidence, that's where we draw the line. Because it's the abandonment of facts, the same absolute disdain for the truth that got us into our bind as Jews. So if there are those out there that have not had a moment to reflect on what's gone on over the last week and need some more ears or would like to have a continued conversation about any of these topics, that's what the temple's for. That's what we're here for. So if you'd like to talk, if you'd like to air your grievances, if you've been infuriated by something that has been said, whether it be tonight or at another point of education, please, let's talk. And accountability, the scapegoat. It's been too long the Jews have been the scapegoat. So if we see it being done to somebody else, we must speak up. It doesn't matter your political affiliation, your culture. See something, say something. Accountability. No more scapegoats as long as we have been the scapegoat. We need to end the cycle of victimization and victimhood thanks to Brian Stevenson, Equal Justice Initiative. I hope that we see justice. I hope we see more accountability moving forward. And anybody that signs up to do a job, we hope that they're going to do it and they're going to lead with their heart and their mind. And they're going to be reasonable, rational, fair, and just in no way are the police judge, jury, and executioner. Everybody in America, every single person, is entitled to a fair trial, no matter what. That's how the system of justice works, and will continue to work. Shabbat Shalom. We now prepare to conclude our service as we turn to the Aleinu, which could be found on page 596. 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
We turn our thoughts now to those that are no longer with us. As we read the names of those whose yahrzeits are observed this week or in this time in seasons past. So if you're thinking of someone whose yahrzeit is this week, please say their name now as we prepare for the mourner's Kaddish. And in addition, we have these names whose names would be illuminated, whose plaques would be illuminated in the sanctuary. And those names are Harry Aaron, Meyer Lewis Aaron, Samuel K. Baum, Lottie Bernstein, Leo Birkin, Norma Newman Cohen, Davis family, Zelda Dolgan, Isadora J. Gornstein, Rebecca Gornstein, Eleanor Hernig, Shirley Lish, Harry Nadelberg, Jenny Rosen, Mickey Shaw, Carolyn Smith, Dr. Harold Soref, Millie Wechter, Sile Winehouse, Rose Werblood. Others remembered at this time: Annette Abraham Heller, Samuel Adler, Rose B. Best, Jean Eber, Mitchell Fields, Bessie Flaxman, Albert Fox, Celia Gable, Beatrice Geller, Daniel Jeremiah, Thelma Greenwald, Bernard Helfand, Anna Horowitz, Margit Horowitz, Lillian Hurwitz, Shirley Lang, Lily Lubelski, Louis Ripner, Dorothy K. Solkoff, Charles Wartell, Louis Weiner, and Mildred Wolowitz. Those whose deaths are more recent in the last 30 days, Rabbi Solomon Schiff. We think of those who are no longer with us, and we turn to page 598. And if it's your custom to do so, please rise as we say together the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mivorach le'olam ulalmei almaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit ba'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh, v'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say amen. So on behalf of all of Temple Sinai, Palm Beach County, we are so grateful that you have joined us tonight for Shabbat services. Join us again next week, same time, same place. Rabbi Viva will be back from her much-deserved rest, and we are so looking forward to bringing you another Shabbat service. We have Torah study tomorrow at noon. If you want to sign up, get in touch with us, write in the chat. Someone will get in touch with you. Wonderful Torah study, a lot of great things to think about this week's parashah, especially the scapegoat. I'd love for people to keep investigating that. Why is it that they decided on the scapegoat? Why the goat? Why not the bull or the ram? Thanks for being with us, folks, and we'll sing together now, Or Zerua. And I may have just opened directly to the page. That's amazing, folks. 647. 647. You know that that's a blessing when you open right to the page on the last song of the Shabbat service. But we got a lot of blessings tonight.
Or Zarua, Tzadik, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Tzadik, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua, Tzadik, Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha.
Shabbat Shalom.